Hey everybody, it's Jerry, and I know I've made a video of this before, but I've learned how to make it a lot better now. I'm going to show you how to make some pizza, gluten-free, dairy-free, and this is going to be barbecue chicken pizza, and it's going to have homemade barbecue sauce, and the whole thing is going to be homemade from scratch. So we're going to start off with the crust, which is the most important part, and what I'm going to start with is a cup of garbanzo bean flour, add to that a half cup of arrowroot starch, and then I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of xanthan gum, and then we're going to add 2 packets of active dry yeast, and mix that all together. Then we're going to add to that a tablespoon of oil. Now, this is grapeseed oil, but you can use whatever oil you prefer. Actually, I'm going to make that 2 tablespoons. Then we're going to add 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. And mix that up really well. And you'll wind up with a sort of crumbly kind of texture to it when it's mixed together. It'll form these little peas. And just form a well in the center. And we're going to pour into that a half a cup of warm water. Now the water should be somewhere around 130 degrees Fahrenheit. You don't want it to go over 140. So anywhere between 120 and 140 is ideal. So make sure that you have a thermometer so that you know the correct temperature. And just pour that in the center. And mix it up. Now at this point it's going to be really sticky. But you want it to stay as wet as possible. You just want to get it dry enough so that you can actually work with it. So what we're going to do is take just a little bit of the arrowroot starch and just sort of sprinkle it on top. And using our hands, we're just going to mix that in. And just work it with your hands. You don't really need to knead it like you would normal dough, but you really just want to get it all mixed together really well and get any air pockets out of it. Alright, so then to roll it out, what we're going to do is take 2 pieces of wax paper, put 1 piece down like that, and just dip the ball of dough into the arrowroot starch just to get one side of it coated. And just press that down on the first piece of wax paper and just flatten it out with your hands to a nice even circle. Then take a little bit more of the arrowroot starch and just sprinkle it on top. Take the second piece of wax paper, put it on top, and then we can roll it out like this. So at first, just go very lightly with the rolling pin in both directions and keep it as round as possible. If you find at any point that the paper is sticking too much to the dough, just add a little bit more arrowroot starch to keep it from sticking. Okay, once it's rolled out nice and thin, we're going to take our pie pan, which has been sprayed with coconut oil, and I'm just going to remove the top piece of wax paper, put this upside down on top, make sure that the dough is bigger than the edges of your pan, and then I'm just going to flip it over. And you can sort of move it around to even it out. Kind of press it in there so that it's nice and even to the edges. And then what I'm going to do is take the edges of the crust and curl them under to make sort of a crust on the edge. Okay, so it'll look like that, and then just kind of even everything out, press everything against the edges so that it's nice and even. Okay, so when you're done, it'll look something like that. And just take a cloth and put it on top, and then put this on top of the oven, which has been preheated to 425 degrees, so it's nice and warm on top, and leave it there for about an hour to rise, and then we'll come back and check it later. All right, so while the crust is rising, we're going to make our barbecue sauce. And we're going to do this from scratch, well, mostly from scratch. So what we're going to start with is, I have about 2 tablespoons of chopped, coarsely chopped onion. This is red onion, but you can use whatever onion you like. I'm going to stick that in the food processor. And I'm going to add to that a half a cup of water. And 3 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. And we're just going to grind that up until it's really mixed well. Okay, so we're going to take our mixture that we just blended up in the food processor and just pour it into a saucepan. And then we're going to add to that 1 small can of tomato paste. This is a 6-ounce can. Then we're going to add to that about half a teaspoon of crushed garlic. And then we're going to add a teaspoon of mustard powder. And then about less than a half a teaspoon of chili powder. Just a little bit to give it some flavor and a little spice. And then just a pinch of clove. And mix that up really well. And then I'm also going to add some sugar. Now this is just, to taste as far as how sweet you want it. I'm going to put about a tablespoon of raw cane sugar. This is just brown sugar, pretty much as raw as you can get. And then I'm also going to add 2 tablespoons of organic rice brown syrup. And then finally I'm going to add a cinnamon stick. And just drop that right in. And then we're going to cook this until it thickens, I would say for about at least a half an hour to 45 minutes. Just let it simmer, and it'll thicken and darken a little bit. And again, it's to taste, so you can add more spices if you so desire when you actually taste it. So we'll come back when this is done. Okay, everybody, we're back, and now we're ready to start assembling everything. We have our crust, which has been risen now for about an hour, and we have our barbecue sauce. We've removed the cinnamon stick, and this is ready to go. It's nice and thick. And we're going to first take the barbecue sauce and spread it evenly on the crust. And then we're going to take our Daiya brand cheese shreds, fake cheese. This is vegan, soy-free. I've talked about this before. It's the best non-dairy cheese out there and healthiest. So we're just going to sprinkle the shreds evenly around. Just give a nice coating. These are the mozzarella shreds, by the way. They have 3 different kinds, cheddar, mozzarella, and pepper jack. Okay, so it looks like that. And then I have a small chicken breast, which has been cooked and cut up into small bite-sized pieces. Now you can cook this however you like. You can grill it. This I happen to cook in a skillet with just a little bit of oil. You can broil it, however you want to cook your chicken, but just cut them up in small pieces and spread it over the pizza. Like that. And then I have half a red pepper, which has been chopped up. Sprinkle that around. And then a couple tablespoons of red onion, which has also been chopped up. Sprinkle that as well. And finally I have some cilantro, which we're going to put on top as well. Some people don't like cilantro, but it's really not authentic barbecue chicken pizza without it, so I always use it. And there we have the final pizza ready for the oven, and we just cook this in our oven, which has been, again, preheated to 425 degrees for about anywhere between 20 and 30 minutes, depending on how crispy you want the crust. But you can check it, but around 20 minutes is adequate. And we'll come back when it's done. So here we have the completed pizza fresh out of the oven. So try it yourself at home and enjoy.